My boss took my work and presented it as his own. I sat in that boardroom watching him click through my slides, my research, my exact words, and nobody knew they came from me. I'd been working as a junior analyst at a consulting firm for 8 months. The project was a big one, analyzing market trends for a potential client worth millions. My boss, Richard, had assigned me the research phase. He said it was a great opportunity to prove myself and contribute to something meaningful. I spent 5 weeks on it, late nights, weekends, everything. I interviewed industry experts, gathered data from dozens of sources, created visualizations that made complex information easy to understand. I was proud of what I'd built. It felt like the best work I'd ever done. The presentation was scheduled for a Wednesday morning with the executive team and the client. Richard told me I'd be introduced and could answer questions if needed. I prepared notes and practiced my talking points. This was my chance to be visible. When I arrived at the conference room, Richard was already setting up. He seemed nervous, which was unusual for him. The executives filed in, then the clients. I sat near the back, waiting for my introduction. Richard started the presentation. No mention of me. Okay, maybe he'd introduce me later, but then he kept going. Slide after slide of my work, and he talked about it like he'd done it himself. He said we instead of she when referring to the research process, but his tone made it clear he meant himself. I felt sick. My hands started shaking. Should I say something? Interrupt him? But everyone was engaged, nodding along, impressed by the insights. His insights now, apparently. The presentation ended with applause. The client loved it. They asked detailed questions, and Richard answered them using my notes. He'd clearly studied my work thoroughly enough to sound knowledgeable. One executive praised his analytical skills. Another called it exceptional work. I sat there frozen. After the meeting ended, people filed out. Richard caught my eye and gave me a small nod like I was supposed to be grateful for being included in the room at all. Back at my desk, I didn't know what to do. I felt angry and betrayed, but I was also scared. Richard had power over my career. My performance reviews, my assignments, my future at the company all went through him. If I complained, would anyone believe me? Would I be labeled as difficult? My colleague Jennifer noticed I was upset. We'd become friends since I started, and she had more experience navigating office politics. I told her what happened, half expecting her to say it was normal or that I was overreacting. Instead, she looked furious. She told me this had happened before with Richard. Another analyst had experienced the same thing a year ago and left the company shortly after. Nobody did anything because Richard brought in clients and made the partners money. Jennifer suggested I document everything. She helped me gather proof. Emails where I'd sent Richard my work, timestamps on files, even a draft I'd saved with my name on it. We compiled it all into a folder. I struggled with what to do next. Going to HR felt risky. But then I thought about that other analyst who left. If Richard kept doing this, more people would get hurt. Plus, I hadn't worked this hard just to be invisible. I scheduled a meeting with HR and brought my documentation. The representative listened carefully and took notes. She seemed genuinely concerned. She said they'd investigate and asked me not to discuss it with anyone while they did. 2 weeks passed. Richard acted completely normal, which made everything worse. Then I got called into a meeting with HR and one of the senior partners. They'd reviewed my evidence and spoken with others.